following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership are not responsible for the content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
Wait a minute, you didn't tell me to start. You know, good producers are supposed to let me know. He gave me the one finger, but it was the wrong finger. But I appreciate that.
It's the right finger for you.
You know, I was listening to Bone Talk just before we came on, and Doc Sellards was talking about, the horse pill.
Oh, yeah.
And then the horse pill, he said, well, the good news about the horse, they have the tail, which, can kind of get rid of some of the bugs and mosquitoes and stuff. But it kind of reminds me of a story years ago when I was playing golf. After we were playing golf, went out and took a shower, and I was standing in front of the locker, and I took my...
Was this indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Shower.
In the shower. In the golf. This is in a country club.
Oh!
I mean, come on. It's a class joint.
You got into a country club?
I know. It's amazing. So I took the girdle out of the locker, and I slipped my girdle on. And the guy next to me, by the way, his name Greg, and he was an attorney. He says, Joe, when did you start wearing a girdle? And I said, well, when my wife found one in the glove box of the car.
Oh, man.
Well, wait till I see Dr. Rob, and I tell him he reminded me of that story.
I've heard different variations
of that. Different variations of that.
Yeah,
different...
I'm sure there are
clothing.
many different variations of that one.
Oh. And thank goodness you're not a divorce attorney.
Yeah, we don't tell that to divorce attorneys. 340-1590, 340-1590. This is the Team Martek Hour. I am Joe Martek. Joe Martek's a financial advisor, also called a stockbroker, securities principal, lots of licenses. And today, most of the team has showed, and even one that is said she is still going to show, we'll only be missing one of the official group, which would be almost a miracle. I think, Dan, in how many years we've been doing this, we've had only everybody on it once or twice.
Very
Yeah. It's a pretty unusual thing. Well, Dan Woron, independent insurance agent, Greg Fasula, attorney, and Joe Martek, financial advisor, started doing these radio shows, give or take, around 2004, because that's as far back as we can remember. Greg, do you know when we started?
No,
I
think we use the hurricanes as
that's our official
somewhere around there. That's
Hurricane Francis or Gene. We think we were doing them before that, so
that's the best I can do.
I think we might be the longest running show on this program. That's local. That's local.
Show, yeah, it could be.
Shipe.
Is it Shipe or Snipe?
Dr. Shipe is maybe 18 years.
Yeah, he's been a long time.
Almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys are definitely.
We're close second or third.
You're up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the concept way back, Joe Martek, financial advisor, clients would ask me questions, and one of the things that I do constantly with new prospects, new clients, is talk about a will or a trust, and of course I don't do such things. So then it would become, hey, I feel somewhat of some responsibility to put the cart and the horse in a proper order. So I started using attorneys for clients. And let's say I was in South Stewart. Well, I'd go find an attorney that was close to South Stewart, and I'd go visit him, and we'd have a nice conversation, and he wasn't pretentious or arrogant or nothing. Mm-hmm. And then I'd show up with that client, and all of a sudden he'd switch gears.
Change person.
Change personalities, and all of a sudden he was not the same person that I interviewed. So 20 years ago, we don't know Greg, but I met Greg Fasula, same reason. Greg was in Port St. Lucie, basically in the same place, right?
Probably, maybe a different building.
Yeah.
There used to be two buildings on the corner.
Veterans Memorial.
Yeah,
it
Veterans,
wasn't called
but
that back.
Midport,
right?
Yeah. Remember?
And it was such a perfectly good name, and they had to change it.
I know.
It took forever to remember Veterans Memorial Parkway.
Yeah,
but
it
anyway,
took forever.
Yeah, but the guys who
change it.
memorial on the road.
They do.
They got a nice little park
yeah,
there
they,
with
yeah,
the
yeah,
wall.
they did. Yeah,
So
they
it's
did.
very apropos now.
guys that printed business cards did very well, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
With the
yeah,
name
yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
more
Had
print.
to get all that changed.
So I met
Stationery.
Greg.
More ink.
And
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
did the same basic thing. Went and met Greg. Greg's a nice guy, and I figured, oh, okay, here we go again. And then I said, Greg, what Rolls Royce are you driving? And he said, Joe, I have a Honda. I said, really?
Yeah, back then I probably did.
I think you probably
I had,
did, right?
An Accord back then, probably.
Yeah, there you
about
go.
20 years ago.
So I said, really? And I said, now listen, I'm going to bring a client in with me to meet him, and we're going to talk a will or a trust, and here's the basics with the people. What do you charge, Greg? And then, boy, the attorneys hate that. And Greg says, I charge by the second.
Right.
No, you didn't
So
say that.
but there's a reason why you kind of hate that, because when people will say, yeah, I need a simple will or something like that, and then you might quote them a price, they come in and you find out it's not so simple.
Yep.
And they want this and they want that. And so you don't like to get tied into a price.
But the key was, I narrowed him down. He said, okay, Joe, tell me about the people. And he says, okay, here's what we'll charge for your customer. And if you lay me away, I'm going to be mad at you for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of the reason why I give free initial consultation.
Just so you know.
Because, I know exactly what that person needs.
So when it was done, all of a sudden, Greg was not expensive, didn't gouge the people, and here was a miracle. He was a good listener. I thought, what's wrong with this guy? He wasn't pretentious or arrogant. And I thought, man, oh man, are you sure you were an attorney? Show me that diploma on the wall, you know.
Yeah, but I think you have to be a good listener, because you have to put the client at ease. You have to listen. Otherwise, you're not going to do a good job.
Then people would say, well, Greg, we think we want to trust. And Greg would say, well, why do you think you want to trust? And they'd come up with their reasons. And Greg said, I hate to tell you, but under the circumstances you gave me, you really don't need a trust, and here's why. Now, the trust would cost, I'm going to give a figure. Don't count, this is not in concrete, but let's say $1,200 because of the complexity of what needed to be done. But on the meantime, I could do a will for you for $200 or $300 or $400 or $500, depending, and it'll do the same job based on your circumstances. And I said,
Sure.
wait a minute, Greg, last guy I went to that was an attorney got $2,500 for a trust, and he didn't give
Right.
people a choice. He said, this is what you will do.
Right.
And I'll give you a nice book with some gold stamping on it, and you will be happy, and you'll try to read it, and you won't be able to read it.
You bought it by the pound.
Bought it by the pound.
Exactly. Well, people come in with that idea, but they don't really know why they need a trust. They
Right.
just heard that they need a trust.
They need a trust because they don't trust anyone.
They don't trust anyone. Yeah,
Well-
they don't trust attorneys. They don't trust the court to do the right thing. But when you do the trust, you have to trust somebody.
That's right.
Because
concept-
you have to name someone as a trustee.
What you're
of
trying
that
to do
trust.
is avoid probate, and that's what the trust is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of ways you can avoid probate without a trust, but the average person, what we take for granted after doing this for years, and you doing it educationally and for years and years, and Dan and I both talking to clients constantly for years and years and years about why you do or don't need a trust. And I have had a couple of clients say, I don't care what you say, I want a trust.
I have too.
Yeah.
Yeah, several times. And
Yeah.
that's fine with me.
And they-
I
if
mean,
that-
if they just want to trust and they want it maybe just for the convenience, maybe not just to avoid probate, but just for convenience sake, that's fine.
Well, you know, what people think, a trust offers more protection, quote.
It sounds bad.
Yeah.
I know. The means, There's not much that can't be penetrated when it comes to the legal
A
system.
revocable trust is, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
This is a will.
Now,
as
an
far as
irrevocable
protecting
trust-
assets. Well, yeah, then that's a different story.
Unless you did it with the intent to defraud, which is another
Right.
thing that attorneys love to try to prove, right?
Yes.
Fraud?
Pierce the veil.
No.
We have
What a shock.
Can you imagine that?
Fraud?
Can you? And we have another attorney here who can't stand it. We have a guest attorney here, Alan Love, and he he's sitting here trying to be quiet, and as an attorney, it's almost impossible. So, Alan, you were going to
Well,
say?
no, Greg, and you and Dan have been talking about a question that I have. On the show, we've talked much about revocable trust, but there are irrevocable trusts, and my question is simply, when do they come into play? Who would want a irrevocable trust? Under what circumstances?
Yeah, and that's usually asset protection, and what I mean by protection is usually protection from taxes. You know,
Or
it's
lawsuit,
usually
too.
people who may have
How
lawsuit,
about wanting
but
to rule from the grave?
Well, and a revocable
Rule from the grave.
a revocable becomes irrevocable on death, right?
yeah, I mean it's irrevocable as far as you being
Can't
able
change it
to,
when
to
you're dead.
change- yeah, but
It'd be hard.
But whatever asset you put in, you no longer have
Right.
control over that asset.
And
And
irrevocable.
that's why people do it to basically take that asset out of their estate if they have a taxable estate. It's separated from
Is
would
it
be
to reduce
separated
the
from
taxable estate?
right.
So maybe you
right.
don't
So
pay
you're
as much
talking
taxes.
millions, you know,
So
millions.
it's a big dollar player.
Exactly.
So, in other words, an irrevocable trust, you might want to give a substantial portion of your estate to charity, and thereby reducing your
Yeah.
tax liability while you're alive.
Exactly.
That's one way.
Yeah, So,
Start a charity.
you know, of course, it's usually the multimillionaire that does that sort of thing, and
I had
otherwise it doesn't make a whole lot.
I
of
had a
sense.
buddy of mine that died recently that was a multi-millionaire. Had his own 17-place jet, a couple of Bentley convertibles, you know, minor
Nice.
little things, 7
Nice.
houses. And he did an irrevocable, and he was talking to me one day and says, well, I own nothing. I don't have a nickel, nothing. And I said, so you set up an irrevocable trust? He says, I think so. He said, I've got a manager now that manages everything.
And he has to make sure the manager's happy
Well,
now.
Now here
Well,
comes
if he doesn't
the
own
manager's in
anything,
jail
then-
now.
the manager's in jail. His name is Bernie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But if he doesn't own anything, then that's probably what he did.
Yeah, that's what he did. The key was, and not everybody knew this, but he knew he was going to die in a near future, health-wise, and he wasn't going to go in and do what the doctor said. So he was living large and dangerously, and he put everything into this knowing that it was
He
going to
either
happen.
did that or he changed title to his beneficiaries' names.
Well,
You know, that's possible also.
There were a few disgruntled people when they found out what he did.
Yeah, okay.
What if he didn't die and was unhappy about his decision?
Now there comes a
That's
problem.
a problem.
Once it's irrevocable and it's done, I mean, it's done. You
Did
can't.
you sue the doctor who told you were dying?
You know what, Greg? Here comes a
That's
circumstance.
a good
Let's
question.
say I did.
don't see
Let's
why
say
you
I did
couldn't.
an irrevocable trust. Let's say it was worth $10 million, and it's not going to be worth. But let's just say it was, and I made you the trustee. Let's
What
just
about me?
okay. Let me Dan the trustee, even though I couldn't trust Dan, but that's okay. He'd go buy an insurance company with that money anyway. So the key was I made you the trustee, and then I didn't die, and I realized I'm going to live for 20 more years. Can I go back to you and say, hey, Greg?
I changed my mind.
Can you give me back the trust?
No.
I mean,
no.
wait a minute.
No, you can't.
As trustee.
No, you can't. You have no influence over the
If
the
you'd have
trustee.
made me trustee, I'd have said yes.
Right. So what happens is once it's quote irrevocable, it's done.
Yeah, you have no control over whoever you made the trustee. You cannot be the trustee. of
Even
your
if
own
you're the
trust.
one that drew the trust.
Oh, yeah.
up.
Right.
Makes no
so that's the difference between revocable and irrevocable.
Well, let's give you another
Where
example.
revocable, most people name themselves as trustee. They wanna handle all the assets in that trust.
Wow.
You know, you want to
Well,
manage whatever's in the
Let's
trust.
take another example. Let's say you've got this $10 million, and the estate tax cuts off at $5.5 million. It means I can pass $5.5 million to my kids or family or whoever I want with no estate tax. But the other $5 million is going to be subject to estate tax. Well, I might buy a life insurance policy that pays $5 million in death benefit if I can qualify for it, to pay the estate taxes, and very often that's put into an irrevocable trust.
Right.
So there's reasons for doing such a
We
thing.
do that quite a bit, Joe.
Yeah. But the key is this: you don't very often find people doing an irrevocable that are worth only $1 million or $2 million or $500,000. It's
No.
usually the extreme high
No,
rollers.
that's usually the revocable trust for probate purposes.
Right. Now, what you're going to have to do, we're going to put Victoria.
Now, let's suppose I
She's
did
in the
a
bathroom,
will.
Cliff.
Let's suppose I did a will up north, and I did it according to all the rules up north where I'm from. I moved down into the great state of Florida. Does that mean that my will automatically conforms with Florida statutes?
No, it may not conform with Florida statutes. But
Even
that,
though I did it in a state and conformed to those rules?
so you probably will be able to use it, but it just might be more difficult to use it
Would
in
it be
Florida.
wiser to get it amended to meet all the Florida requirements?
It would be wise at least to have an attorney look at it. Sure.
Well, there's an interesting constitutional question. What about full faith and credit under the Constitution? You know, why? Well, if you had a revocable trust in Wisconsin and you come down to Florida, why isn't that Wisconsin revocable trust good the way it is?
Right.
You know, that's
And it
an
might be.
interesting
Well, and it may be,
constitutional
and-
issue.
and
Is it because
probably
we have
is.
states' rights and each state has a right to set up their own rules? and
Possibly.
regs?
I'm not going to
Well,
be the judge on
But
this.
stay here with that, Alan, for a minute. The will is a different structure than the trust.
Yeah.
So very often, wills, how they're documented, let's say in Wisconsin or Michigan, might have different components than the Florida will. So what happens, what Greg is saying, I think, is if you come down with this Wisconsin will and you die, and it's subject to probate, Greg will be really happy because your will is going to take longer to probate,
And he'll make more money.
and he'll make more money. Is that fair, Greg?
Kind of.
Go
Kind of.
ahead.
I
Set
love-
him up.
I love-
He's dead now.
What I love is, Greg, to get a black and white out of an attorney almost never happens because it's kind of. You did have an absolute one time. I think it was when.
A rare absolute.
It's a rare absolute, and didn't come out of a bottle.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was.
Well, I think
pretty
it was.
rare.
I think it was when we were talking about your hero Bernie wanted free education for everybody, and you weren't for that.
Right.
See, that's an absolute. We have
There's
one.
there's no free anything.
I am for Medicare.
By
for
the
all,
way,
though.
have you seen the new thing that's going around now?
What is it?
Where they want everybody to tack on to the congressional health plan.
So we all
which
get
is
the
ver-
same?
Which is very interesting.
We all
Now-
get the
same.
Yeah, but did you know that congressional staffs and the Congress in general gets a 72% discount on their insurance?
Yes.
And it gets better. That if you have a child in college, all of his or her loans are forgiven. And this is not only for the congressmen, but
Their
the
staff.
staffers.
Wow.
No kidding.
Now, is that for
How many
forever?
thousand people is that?
What if I lose my job
Thousands.
as a congressman? Do I still get it?
Well, you get full retirement if you've had one term in office.
One full term.
Let's
So-
run, Joe.
I think.
Yeah, if
you know,
you're
Greg,
right.
between the three of us, we might be able to get one of us elected.
Yeah.
we could all become staff
we could
members
split
then.
the pension.
We-
Sounds,
Yeah, but
sounds
just think
like a
about it.
plan.
If you're making $200,000 as a staffer, why be the congressman?
I would
Exactly.
say
Why take all the
we
heat?
were talking about Medicare for everybody, which is a big subject of mine. You know, I've been preaching this forever.
I'm all with you.
Bernie's in favor of it. Joe Martek's in favor of it. If I could get if we could get Donald Trump to want Medicare for everybody, he would even get Democrats.
But Medicare is financially in trouble, Joe.
Well, everything's in trouble in America. We're only $20 trillion in debt.
Even you're always
You're
in
always
trouble.
in
Joe.
Always in trouble. Well, you know what Dan came up with last week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, which was the best answer in the whole world, and that's a
I've forgotten what was it.
value-added tax, a national sales tax.
Everybody
to pay.
says that. Why don't we do it?
Well, I don't know
Why
why
don't we
don't
just
do it.
keep talking about the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over?
Because see, the insurance lobby is pretty big.
Right.
They're not really excited about doing this. On the other hand, if we look at Medicare the way it works today, you get a supplement from an insurance company, or you get an HMO or a PPO from an insurance company. So insurance companies are part of the Medicare system.
If you did a
Yeah.
VAT to remove your income tax, I don't think you'd ever get it through because of the powerful lobbies that are in Congress. But
Right.
if you did a VAT just for medical,
Just for medical.
I think you could fly that.
I think you could. I honestly think. And I look, by the way, just curiosity, I was just in the Bahamas for a couple weeks. The Bahamas passed a VAT, 7.5% on everything. They never had any income tax. They don't have property tax. All they were doing is living off of tourism. And now all of a sudden they got a 7.5. I mean, they're going to get to be a pretty substantial.
But they want to know where their money's going. That's the problem. That's why they were in the Bahamas. They were upset about it
They want to know.
because
But
the government keeps spending money that's there, and they don't know where the people don't know
Well,
where it's
you know
going.
what? Do you
Boats and
think we
airplanes.
know in America where the money's going?
Of course not.
He just told us the
That's
free
why we're
education
broke.
for their kids.
Free education, we know that. Hey, what else do they get?
But I don't have any children, so what do I get as a bonus?
You get to
You
pay.
get to pay.
Oh,
You
thank
pay.
You,
You
Good
pay.
deal.
Hey.
Somebody has to
I
pay.
have to pay for your children too.
Of
You
course
bet.
you do.
Yeah.
Well, see
Well,
what
then I want the benefits.
see what
Joe.
what you missed is we decided we're going to get one of our group elected. And
We're not sure to what yet. But
we don't know
just
what.
elected.
But then all the rest of us have become staffers.
You're going to be elected. You know it's you.
No, I'd never be me. I mean, I got too
Because
many
you speak out. You might get shot.
too many ex-wives.
So who's going to be in second
right.
place?
Well, even if I get
Yeah,
shot,
but that could be from another member of this group, though.
But if I serve
Oh,
one,
I don't think so. It
if I
might be an
serve,
ex-wife.
all my staffers pick up the same benefits: free education, 72% discount on health. I mean, it's a whole great deal for a staffer. So
Well, we just need to come together as a group, and
You
why
know-
don't we present this? He likes to tweet, so why don't we talk to the horse's mouth?
we are.
Not that I say he's a horse, but you know. I heard you talking about tails on the way over here,
Three-
horses' tails or something.
Yeah.
And Joe, it was pantyhose. It wasn't a girdle.
No, that was a different story.
That was a different wife.
different
Oh,
one.
you don't even want to know. Go there.
340-1590, 340-1590. So Greg Fasula, attorney, and Joe Martek started off, but simultaneously met with Dan Woron because the other big question that came up constantly was things to do with automobile, home insurance, business insurance, and those of that have lived in Florida since 1992 watched the insurance industry change dramatically after Hurricane Andrew hit. Dramatically. Is that fair, Dan?
It's an understatement, Jim.
That's an understatement. And what it did, it put 13 or 14 or we don't know how many companies out of business. State paid every claim for the admitted companies.
It affected every company.
Yeah, but
They
it
didn't
was.
all go broke, but all of them rethought their position.
Oh yeah. So they changed the whole system, and then very often, many people had their premiums double, triple, quadruple. Some were
Or
non-renewed.
just canceled. Yeah, they just
Canceled.
canceled you.
Canceled them. They
For no
sure did.
reason.
No reason.
No reason.
Didn't have to.
Yep.
So it became a critical element to find a, quote, independent insurance agent rather than a captive one, because if you're a captive one, I used to work for Farmers, that was captive. Dan was strictly nationwide for years, right?
And I sell nationwide
Yeah.
products and farmers products
Oh, yeah.
through their subsidiaries.
Is that the dun 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 dun? Okay.
But
I have to say, Dan, one of my clients came in the other day and said, I just met this really good insurance guy. I said, he gave me a great price, saved me a lot of money. I said, yeah, who's that? I think his name's Dan Woron.
I appreciate that.
I think, no, her name
And I
was
said,
Barbie.
"Oh, really? I think I know that guy.
Well, here's the flip side of that. We have truly been blessed with a tremendous abundance of growth, but I'm once again, a couple months ago I said we were looking for help, and then we found someone. Well, I'm going to be looking again,
Right.
because I need to stay ahead of that curve, and I'm
Right.
starting to see. Not a sense of panic because we're doing so much, but I can see that we need more help. So
There you go.
once again, and I appreciate it. I really do. So be patient with us. We're going to be bringing new people in and getting them up and running, but I just can't hire anybody to do what I need done.
And you have not seen anything, any growth at all compared to what it's going to be.
I understand.
Why are you
Yeah.
saying that?
All you have to do is look at the Florida scorecard.
Yeah.
It's from the Florida Chamber Foundation.
And
And if you want to learn what's going to happen to the Treasure Coast, that will show you. And what's very interesting is the migration of money that they track, which obviously our number one used to be New York. New Yorkers coming here. And then you had
New Jersey.
Washington, D.C. in that area. Okay, that's all out the window
Me.
now.
Who now?
Now
Miami.
Miami's
Fort
number.
Lauderdale.
Miami, Fort Lauderdale. She's got it right.
I know.
It's number one.
Yeah.
I don't
Palm
work for nothing.
Beaches.
For in-migration.
Palm Beaches are
Yeah.
number 2. Then New York. Then
Yeah. They're
So you're
calling
talking-
me every
there's
day.
no-
You're
Nowhere
talking
for them to go.
percentage-wise, the growth.
they're tracking everything.
But I'm
It
trying to
is-
say, yeah.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's not actual bodies, but it's percentage-wise.
When I
But-
first moved to Fort Lauderdale, everything was pushing west, push west,
Yeah,
push
yeah.
west.
Yes.
But now there's
Yeah.
nowhere.
There's no west
nowhere to
anymore.
go
Beach,
anymore.
yeah.
You're back to the Everglades.
Right.
Well, listen, can you blame people for wanting to live in Florida? No.
No.
And because Dade County, because of South America, I mean, the South Americans looking, hey, America's the safest place in the whole world to have your money, so what do? If they got money in South America, they come up and buy real estate in Dade County, and they're at home. I mean, you
Right.
better speak Spanish down
Right.
there, and if you don't,
You'll learn.
be bilingual.
Yeah.
Bilingual,
It's
yeah.
interesting, but they're calling again, and we had that before.
Yes, we
Remember
did.
when we had the boom, and that's where
Yeah,
they came
yeah.
from because he said we were the best kept secret,
Right.
which we were. And then all of a sudden, our taxes went a little higher, and they got nervous again. And then the media comes along and says, "Hey, what's going on?" But like when I called the tax collector's office, I said we're going to have a ghost town because they feel their taxes are going too high. Who's they? The people that are buying that are not homesteaded
Yeah,
people.
of course.
So we're not locked in. But I don't know if it's true. Somebody mentioned something about that they were trying to lock in homestead for non-homestead people not to ever go higher than 10% per year.
They've
Now,
been-
did you hear that too?
I'd heard that, but I've seen nothing.
And I
Nobody-
haven't either.
Nobody's ever proposed it. Here comes the key. The homestead thing is a magnificent thing for people. Obviously, they can lock in their taxes. It
No,
can only go up
3%,
3% a year. And you get, what, 50 grand off that you don't pay tax on?
Not a true 50, but you do.
Well, it's based on assessed value, right?
It is assessed value. The first 25 is 100% 25.
Right.
The second is not really 100% 25 because we have the assessment, as they call it, for our swales and our
For
trash.
different things that
That's
they pay.
right. So it's not a true, but it's enough. So if it was 100,000 as their appraised value. Now remember, that's not what a house is appraised for to purchase it or what you should
what
sell
the
it
county
for.
does, yeah.
Yeah, it's what you're going to pay your taxes on
Exactly.
their assessed value, which
It's
you want
usually a little bit
lower,
lower.
which I tell people because when they come to buy a house, the first thing they do is look up their tax records.
Yeah.
And they say, Victoria, this house is only appraised or assessed.
Assessed.
for $130,000. Well, this house might be a $300,000 house.
Sure.
So what we're trying to make them understand, appraised values are completely different than
And what
assessed
happens,
value.
and assessed values can change based on a sale of a house also. I mean, when you
Well,
buy...
and they will. Those are the two things they do. It's either going to be the assessed value, Joe, or what the market bears in
Yeah.
your neighborhood. So if you come along and say, hey, Dan, I'm going to buy that house for $50,000, but it's really worth an assessed neighborhood of $300,000, you're not going to be taxed on $50,000. And that's what people think. That's why they try to slip money under the table illegally and say, hey, Dan, I'll
Yeah.
give you your $300,000
This way.
cash, and I'll just pay you $50,000 in the closing.
Right.
I'll take it.
Yeah. No,
key-
you won't.
the
You'll
key-
go to jail.
the key thing that they're looking at is, and let's face it, other than our federal government, most of our governments are supposed to balance their budget because they don't have the same ability to keep printing dollars like the federal government does. So your taxes can't go down unless all of a sudden you've got a major manufacturer or somebody that's going to contribute a lot of money. And Florida is missing a whole bunch of...
But even if taxes don't go down, Joe, if they're spread more equally, you'd have more tax dollars. Now, going back to your homestead exemptions, I've always felt that the first $50,000 of every home should be taxed at the true value, and then the next $50,000 should be subject to the $25,000, 100%, and the $25,000 on a pro rata
You want it
basis.
as a scale.
Because some people are paying no taxes
Because some
at
people
all.
are paying little to no taxes, and it's the same thing with, say, free health care or other things. If everyone paid some, the burden wouldn't be shared by few, the burden would be shared by all,
Yep.
and it would actually generate more income.
Yes. One of the problems that does occur, and now back into equality, there's a lot of people, especially the retirees, that retired living on nothing but Social Security, and they're living in a single-wide mobile home on a lot. And they may pay $25 a year in taxes because of the deductions. But these people are normally not at the top income levels because they wouldn't be living in that single-wide mobile home.
Then it gets blown away in a storm. And then when the waters rise, they're amphibians, so they just drive
Well, that's why
off.
we have Dan Woron for insurance, so we can get a new trailer.
Hey, you know, those trailers are nice. Don't make it sound like people that live
what
in
I'm
a
trying to
mobile
say is-
home is bad, because let me tell you something. There's some gorgeous homes
There is.
No
that
kidding.
are out there. Absolutely. And don't call a modular home a mobile home
I know they get
either.
upset. But the key is, my brother just bought a double wide up in Orlando. And he's living in a park. He's fitting right in with all the old people because he's old now too.
He's not old.
And I think his next door neighbor paid $15 last year for his insurance because of the way the deductions
Not
are.
his insurance, maybe his taxes.
I mean, excuse me, for his taxes.
it was-
Insurance,
we
forget
knew what
that.
you meant. I'm a woman. See, I
It's
knew
like-
what you meant.
I need to know what that company is. I will say this: if the
Yeah.
mobile or the manufactured home is newer, let's say
Yeah.
2000 and newer, I can give them a wonderful package.
Right.
If it's an older home, it's usually ex-wind.
Yeah,
And is it because of the pipes we were talking about before, those pipes that are in the home? But they are saying that if there was copper in those pipes, it's called poly something
Yeah.
or other. What's it called?
There's
Polyplane.
there's a lot of different
Plastic pipes.
Yeah, but they
very-
say
I
they
know.
break.
I know.
They started building a better, stronger unit.
There you go.
From that point on, so I can classify them differently. And we're actually picking up homes in Vero and Melbourne, Palm Bay, because people talk and say, well, give Dan a call. He helped
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
You mean Bulldog?
Well, maybe I don't know. I mean, but we hadn't done.
No, that's
a
Palm
run on
Coast
mobile
now. If
homes
we
in a
start
long
getting
time.
calls from Palm Coast, we'll know they're listening to Bulldog.
That's too funny.
340-1590, 340-1590. So the other members of the team, after the three of us started, one of them is sitting here today, Ms. Victoria Loyd, who is, let me just toot her horn just a little bit. Victoria has never been an arrogant person, never been pretentious, never been a braggart. And I remember a couple years ago, she came in and she goes, Joe, they wrote me up as one of the top agents out of 100,000 agents in the state of Florida. And I said, Vic, I hate to tell you, it's not the state of Florida, it's the entire world. RE/MAX doesn't have 100,000 agents. Now, she could care less that she was one of the top 100,000. As far as she was concerned.
And I still don't know the difference if I am or not. That's a hoot.
Well, how do you become that? Well, you work hard.
That's what I tell people. People go, oh, you made a lot of money. I go, no, what it means is I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a
Well,
week.
and they're
Feel sorry for me.
Well, no, we don't. The
Oh,
key
thanks.
is that, no, well, the truth is you only have two speeds.
I do.
You're either full blast or you're asleep.
My chiropractor just was telling me that today. I had my attitude adjustment. Am I doing better? Can you notice a difference? Because it's
No.
not an adjustment, it's attitude adjustment.
When my wife gives me my attitude adjustment, it usually hurts. It's like,
It's got something to do with the back of a hand.
That's a frying pan. to
Frying
the
pan,
head,
right.
right?
And he said that I'm like him because we only have two speeds, and that's.
My grandmother used to chase my grandfather around with an iron skillet. She never did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But he used to love it because he'd run out the door and head down to the bar.
to give him an excuse to go.
My mom did throw a knife at my dad one time because
Oh.
she was pretty mad.
Whoa.
And it did hit the wall, and he laughed. But you know what's funny is as you get older and now you're up to that 50 years of being together, and they throw a knife and you can't move as quickly. It's not as
It's
funny.
true.
I don't know what happened. It's like,
I know.
Edith, don't do that to me anymore.
My mother's last husband, who Victoria remembers, Jack Helmstedt.
Yeah.
And Jack was born in Brooklyn, heavy-duty New Yorker, worked for the phone company his whole life, had a great retirement. And when he was working up north, one day his wife decided to wallpaper the bathroom. Now, anybody that's ever tried to wallpaper a bathroom only does it one time because it's the worst. I mean, it is. You ever tried that, Greg?
No,
Don't.
no.
You-
I painted the bathroom.
That's bad enough.
Yeah.
Wallpapering is tougher because cutting
and it
around
depends
edges.
if you have to line it up, too.
So he came home from work in a bad mood, and she was in the bathroom wallpapering, and he says, yeah, so what the hell did you do today? And she had scissors in her hand. And she looked at him, and she threw them at him, and they stuck in the wall next to his head. And he says, he says, a bad time, huh?
Yeah, but the words are this. Don't come and say, what have you been doing all day?
Yeah,
Like,
it-
what the pup? I've been...
Anyway, and it's exactly the truth. 340-1590, 340-1590. And guess what? Somebody heard his name called. He's actually listening
Bulldog?
to
Is
us.
that Bulldog?
It's Bulldog. Bulldog, you're on the radio.
Hey, team, how you doing?
You know, you got Dan, Victoria, Greg, me, and our itinerant attorney passing through occasionally, Alan Love, here today.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching you.
Okay.
Don't worry. And by the way, nice dress, Vic.
Oh,
Love it.
Thank you.
Very good.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you, hey, Joe, what kind of bait do you use on your hook to catch those lobsters you were going for?
Yeah, right.
Hot dogs. It's hot dogs.
I mean, do lobsters eat shrimp? I mean,
You know what you do? You go to Publix, and they got that big water basin with the lobsters swimming around in there, and you lower your hook down and hope you snag one.
It's cheaper.
uh-huh,
Yeah, it's a
uh-huh.
lot cheaper.
Okay,
Now,
guy from growing up in New York, and you're going to tell me this lie. Anyway, hey, I got a funny story for you. It's not funny, but it's kind of ironic, and Vic will get a kick out of this.
Okay.
All right, see, you know, the property next to me that I bought has a undeveloped lot next to it, which is basically forest, all right? And it's got a couple of hackberry trees.
What kind of
One
trees?
these hackberry trees.
Hackberry.
I never heard of it. You sure they're not Brazilian peppers?
No, but this one split in the middle, and half of it fell on my house.
Oh no.
So they call
Well,
it a hackberry
not to do
tree
that
so you
much
can hack
damage.
it down.
Well,
It's-
not
it's-
half.
is it a
but
half
big
berry
piece.
or?
So what happened when it fell on your house?
No coverage.
No damage or anything like that. We're cool, Dan. Don't worry about it. But I had some guys come over. This happened on Sunday. The guys came over Monday, chopped it up, looked at the rest of the tree, says it's going to fall on your house if we don't take it down. And so's this other one, this one was not on my property, but the other one is. And so yesterday, they're out stacking the wood, you know, and they're cutting it up and stuff and taking it away. And this guy from the city of Palm Coast shows up.
Did you get a permit to take that tree out?
Yes,
Really?
I swear to God.
I
you
know.
And I'm like going, oh my goodness, I'm going to jail or something if the property owner comes up. You know, I mean, what the heck is going on here? Darn thing's sitting on my roof, and I gotta need a permit to take it down.
So did you go get a permit?
He came to me, wrote it up. It was free.
Well, then, hey, he was a good guy.
Doesn't even make sense.
He was
to
a good
me.
guy. He was a good guy because, listen, that is just part of the new system. You can't take out your own tree. I mean, on your own property. I mean,
Well, and you know, they do have this. You need a tree per every. Up here, it's like 2,700 square feet.
We need it too here. We have regulations also.
when
Nobody
they, when they,
abides
when
by
they
'em, but
build
we
the
do
house.
have 'em.
When you build the house, they got to plant
Yeah,
X
they
amount.
amount of trees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one was on the other property. And he says, well, if the property owner comes over and he wants to make a complaint, I'm like going, I got to go to court on this thing?
What? You took out a neighbor's tree?
Yeah, but it's a vacant lot. But you shouldn't do that.
Hey,
You
listen,
shouldn't do
Bulldog,
that.
do you have
I
the
mean, it's
guy's
somebody
name
else's
and number? I'll
property.
give him a call and let him know that you didn't mean it.
No, I'd rather have Alan call him and say, fine, let's go to court.
Ow! Give Alan something. You were looking for Alan something to do for free.
Now, do you think it's because years ago when you owned property, you owned the airspace and the ground below? In the old deeds, you did that. So if that tree was in my airspace,
Yeah.
I could control my airspace. Today, the new deeds don't give you that ownership.
That's right.
You may be able to control a branch over your property.
it's on my
but
property.
You can
if
lop-
it's
you can make a
rooted-
half a
if the
tree
trunk
hanging
is
over your
rooted in
I
property.
the
got to
other
leave the
property.
trunk alone.
Leave the
Yeah,
trunk.
but he said that one tree was on his property.
Well, Bulldog, congratulations
You
on
can just print it.
violate.
Talking to
You're brand new to Palm Coast and you violated the law
Plant
already.
an orange tree in lieu
Yeah,
of the
I
one
know.
you cut
I'm on
down.
their watch list.
On their
I
watch
swear.
list.
Whoa, orange wood cooks the best
I'm a
steaks.
forest offender or
Forest
something like
offender.
that, or a landscape offender.
Just plant some marijuana.
That'll work.
That'll work.
Future Farmers of America.
FFA.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, they legalize it, I might be one. So stop it. You know.
All right, my man.
Thanks.
Listen,
Good talking to you.
everything's good. Glad you called in. Everybody's here today for a change, except Mike Policy.
Because he just got back from the Bahamas. He said he got beat up really bad.
Good.
In the boat
Yeah, well, you know
with
what?
the storm.
See, I went over perfect, and he came over after me.
I know he did.
Yeah, which is only right.
He said if he only came back a day, but he'll be this afternoon on our show.
Hey, Bulldog.
Thank you.
Good talking to you, my man. I guess he left us.
He hung up.
340-1590, 340-1590, which the one that we're talking about who's not here, Mr. Mike Powlis, mortgage broker. And when Victoria Loyd came in a few years ago, hand in glove came the debacle of the recession with the major changes in real estate and in mortgages. And what
there were changes?
Oh, you didn't notice. That's because you're here all the time working. What would you notice?
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, speaking of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, remember her?
Absolutely. Great segment.
Where did you get that? Talk about a non
I looked at Dan.
sequitur.
He had it written on his forehead.
Speaking of Mickey Mouse.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you notice how there has been absolutely no news coverage on her Pakistani
Until recently.
And all of the major networks, with the exception of Fox, your favorite one, Greg, didn't talk about Debbie's guys skipping the country and.
Well, he had tried.
Well, he
to skip
tried
it.
to
I don't know
skip
what
it.
you're talking about.
He got caught. He got caught skipping the country, and her Pakistani.
Her IT guy.
I hope they get caught. I mean, I can't even go down the street without them IDing you anymore. So
Well, you look a bit like a Pakistani. You know?
I do not. I look like a crazy Italian. I look like Betty Boop. So get me for that.
All the above.
Boop boopy doo.
Anyway, yeah, it was kind of interesting that she ended up, even after he was indicted, he got paid, and a little minor thing, and then
A few smashed hard drives in his luggage. I mean, it's just nothing.
little-
Nothing.
little
major.
tiny things.
You
Yeah.
don't do
Smuggling
that
them
every
out.
day?
As he's
You don't
trying
see
to
that
sneak him out of the country.
Trying to sneak him out of the country, and he was mad that he had to leave the country and go back and live in poverty. So he wanted to take as much with him as he could.
Well, he took a lot of money.
Yeah.
He got paid almost $4 million from what they were saying.
Little minor thing, but
Why don't we get paid to get rid of us?
yeah.
Somebody wants to get rid of me, I get nothing.
Well, you know what?
I'm doing something
You're
wrong.
getting paid what you're worth.
Oh, come on, Joe.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh,
It's a good thing I am this distance away.
I was
I
thinking
slap him in the back of his head right
the
now.
attitude adjustment.
Yeah, that's right, and he needs
The
one.
back of my head is pretty flat from attitude adjustments already. So 340-1590, 340-1590. So other than the fact that we were talking about how the insurance industry changed dramatically after Hurricane Andrew, and patting Dan on the back when I, in my not too humble opinion, call him the premier insurance agent on the Treasure Coast, it's not because he's the brightest bulb on a tree. It's because he's been here 38 years and he works. And
Well,
you have put together.
And I have a great staff, Joe.
That
I mean,
helps.
I got some really good people, and let's face it, I couldn't do what I do by myself. It'd be
No,
impossible.
it's impossible.
So
Yeah.
it's very hard for us to bring the right person in to mix in with our current staff, but we're looking.
Hey, did you sell that Camaro?
Oh no, I'm still enjoying that.
You see that Camaro?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, Dan.
It's a
He's
great
not
little
driving
car.
Yeah, just
today.
don't get speed tickets
It's-
like
I-
Joe.
Did you get a ticket with it yet?
No, of course not. I'm smarter than you.
Either that or faster
I know
on the
where,
foot.
I know where to go and ride.
Did you drive it today?
No. It's going to rain. I don't take it out in the rain.
Did you see the Camaro last
No,
night?
no,
You-
I haven't.
Tell him just a curiosity.
It's one of 38 cars that were built by this guy in Pennsylvania. It's his number 7 car. They start out with the Z28 from the factory.
Sure.
And then the Chevrolet make it into this GMMA special edition SS Camaro. So yeah, it's quite a machine.
Ooh.
It's
Nice.
What do you
So
guess the
how did you
horsepower
end
is
up
on
with
that?
it?
I spend a lot of money on it.
So somebody
What
wanted
do you
to sell
guess
it.
the horsepower is on that?
It says 380, but it dyno tax about 550.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, and now let me
Is
tell
it
you,
like a Hellcat?
I watched the teenager leave with that car 2 weeks ago, and he couldn't stand it. He was in front of me, and I got my Mustang behind him, and he just wanted to show me that he could just hit the accelerator a little bit, and that car would just kind of jump over the highway.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So
That's
now,
no
okay,
problem. I'd
what,
be aggravated. I'd
what-
like to speed.
what's the top speed in that?
Oh,
Oh, you can bury it at 200.
Yeah. Well, did you see this new Italian sports car, which I can't think of the name of
Probably
it
a
right
Bugatti.
now? It was on It may have been a Bugatti. Tops out at 261 miles an hour.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, where in the world?
On the Autobahn.
Yeah,
No, not that fast.
You can't go that fast on the auto.
No,
If you
there's
wanna
no speed
die,
limit.
maybe.
over 100, but not
But
that
there's,
fast.
but there's
Isn't
no.
there a state out west that has no speed limit?
I think
Montana.
Montana.
There you
when
go.
You,
There
when
you
you get
go.
out into the open country, yeah.
Now, see,
Maybe
what
that's
they
why they
should
have so
do
many kids.
is like the
No speed
turnpike
limit.
has been charging us for decades, and they were supposed to stop charging us once they got paid for.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been paid for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So if I have to pay, I should be able to drive as fast as I want.
You know, you can take the
Tell the
teenager
police
out of the
officer
man,
that.
but he never quote leaves.
Tell that to the highway patrol.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right.
I paid my money. What more do you want?
That's it. And you're still paying, and you always will, because they got to keep building something new on there to justify raising the fees up
Is
all the
that
time.
why the government, when they take a tax, they never give it back?
Isn't that the truth?
You know, I basically kept my mouth shut during this show, but I can't take it anymore. as a former prosecutor, all I'm hearing is throwing knives into walls, throwing knives into people, speeding. I mean, is
Right.
this a financial show or
Yeah,
is this a criminal
Guys
show
like
now?
us gave you a job.
You know, I guess this is a criminal show now. Well, we need a good attorney. Hey, actually,
Welcome to Crime Talk.
one of the nice, you know, if you live through the knives and the fly pans and the knives, when you get older, you realize you shouldn't do those things anymore. You know, and sometimes women, they don't have much of a sense of humor.
Oh, please. Oh, Joe. What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with
That's
me?
why men are still alive, because we have such a sense of humor.
You know, there is some logic there, which
There
I don't
is
like.
logic there.
340-1590, 340-1590. Now, that is not why the group is here. The group is here to either make you money or save you money. And we've all been very, 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 very fortunate to be able to do that for many people. But we're also here to educate. Even though we didn't do too much educating today
No, it was a round robin.
but we did do a little bit on trust. There was some education there, Greg.
A little education.
Yeah, so we did
Where,
something.
where are the guys who evaluate this show? Are they in California?
Evaluate. Luckily, the only station that would take us, they don't do an evaluation. So that was it.
Yeah, where are the guys who listen to this show? I
Well,
mean,
you know, my poor compliance people, when they listen to these whole shows and they say, Joe, I listened to this whole stupid show of yours and you didn't talk one time about anything to do with finance.
You
But
have
you're afraid
six.
to.
You have
You're
6
afraid
minutes.
to.
I got 6 minutes.
Wait till the last minute.
Then they really get upset. They really get upset.
So now where are they, though? Are they in California?
Yeah, yeah.
They're going to think the show's out of California.
Because it sounds
It's been
like
so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not crazy. We just talk truth.
That's
boy, oh
right.
boy, oh boy.
Oh.
We're here to make America great again.
Yeah, we are, and that's what we're here for.
Well-
Greg and I just did a deal together too, and it's so funny how him and I start and falling like he talked about Dan. It's like all of a sudden I'll say, Greg, guess what? I'm just listing this property, and they mentioned you were the attorney that worked
Right.
on it, and
Right.
and I think it's interesting, and maybe we should just talk about it really quickly. Is that he had done the will for a mother, where the two daughters now were the heirs to it, and it has to do with homesteaded property, as we were talking about earlier. So Greg, kind of fill in the difference, what was out there that they found out there from a nursing home.
Yeah, there was a couple big claims put against the estate.
Yes.
Plus, there was a caveat against the estate. So, in that situation, I think the judge wanted to sit back to see if there was anybody that wanted to challenge the homestead.
So when this happened, you had to do an advertisement in the newspaper to see if there was any.
No, I
you didn't have to do
no
that with this one.
advertisement. Mm-mm.
So we just had to wait the days they told us to and present it to the judge.
Yeah, you have so many days for the caveat to
Yes.
expire, and I think, like I say, because of those claims, she wanted to make sure there was no challenge to the homestead.
So the judge got this in front of her, this order saying that there was like a $30,000 that they needed to pay that was against the property, and Greg got it cleared up, and we're closing tomorrow on it.
Good.
So
Yeah, so not really against the property. So that was the difference. It was
Against the estate.
her, which would be the estate. Yeah.
yeah, and even though that is, we still couldn't close
Yeah,
on it because
that-
we had to
that's-
clear it.
That's the technicality.
Right.
The homestead takes it out of the estate.
As we say, it's in the cloud somewhere.
In the cloud.
340. Yeah.
It's up in the cloud.
3-4. Well, homesteads are exempt from takeover by lawsuits or whatever, but that's why you're alive. right?
What do you mean?
Well, if I have a house and I get sued for $10 million, they can't take my house, my homestead.
Right.
Can they
But,
put a
you see-
judgment
but if I
against
see,
die and
that's
I've got a
right.
$10 million judgment
Yes, they
on me,
can.
You see, that's why
But it
O.J.
doesn't-
Simpson lives in Florida, right?
well, he gets $25,000 a month from an NFL retirement community. They can't touch
Yeah,
that either.
But his home, right?
Plus his
It's
homestead
protected.
is exempt, but he can't go buy a homestead now and get it exempt, I don't think, because he's already got these judgments on him.
Yeah, but he already has his home. He never got rid of it,
There you
so
go.
he's fine.
So that home
He
was
kept
done
it
before.
going,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's exempt.
Which he is selling, by the way.
Well, you might as well.
He's staying
He's
with
going
his
to move
daughter.
to Naples.
He's getting a more expensive one.
He's going to go
No,
over.
he's going to live with his daughter.
Is that right, in Naples?
I think she's Fort Lauderdale, I thought.
Well, I thought he was going to Naples.
Oh,
But who
maybe.
cares? You know, it's just like living next to an attorney. Who wants to?
We all used
Some
to go to
people
the
have to.
Some
we
people
all
have to.
used to go to the same gym in Santa
There you go.
Monica, but there's a lot of stories out there.
Really?
340-1590.
Watch how you say that.
Anybody that doesn't want to talk to us on the radio besides Bulldog, we understand that. But on
No,
the
no,
meantime,
we don't.
you can
We
call
want
the
you to
station
call.
anytime, 340-1590. They'll give you the individuals' names of anybody here to help you. Remember, the group consists of Ms. Victoria Loyd, Remax of Stewart, Mr. Mike Powlis, mortgage broker, Dan Woron, independent insurance agent, Greg Fasula, attorney, and Joe Martek, financial advisor. Each one of us are here to help you any way we can, answer questions for anything you want. Nobody's going to charge you to talk to you on the radio or on the phone. Greg, people come in to see you the first time, you don't charge them.
No charge.
Once you figure out what they want, you let them know, and they agree to the fee, and that's the way it goes.
That's the way
and I
it
think,
goes.
you know, what happens with all of us, I say almost never. I got to play attorney here because that word never gets you in trouble, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
I almost never do business with people the first time I meet them. Normally it takes 2 or 3 visits. Make sure they understand what they're doing. And then we can do business, whether it's transferring a IRA or to a 401k or whatever the numbers are. But we're here to answer questions, whether it's talking to you in person or on the phone or on the radio. And I think we're just about done, Father. I said, you know, the station owner's husband she put him to work today. Normally he just sits back in a corner and pretends he's working, but today you're actually working.
He's done a good job.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't
I
talk
did.
much. It really helps a lot.
But I miss our girl.
Our girl's much better than he. But
I didn't say that.
and
I
she's
said
better
I
looking
missed
too,
her.
and she's younger. Well, you know, how about everything?
Joe, and you wonder why you're always in trouble.
What do you mean? Why am I always in trouble? I've
You
earned
wonder. You
I
wonder.
wonder. I don't ever
He
wonder.
doesn't wonder. He
I don't
knows.
wonder.
We got a half a second.
Now, how much does
30,
that? How
30
much does that mean?
seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
You said half a second.
Well, 30 because
meant
it's half
half a
of
minute.
60.
Half a minute.
Of
Half
a
a
minute.
minute.
I'm sorry.
You know what she meant.
Yes, you knew. See?
Victoria, you want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Dan, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Greg,
Goodbye.
you guys are really good. Good job. Until next week, we will all see you again. Thank you.
Bye. Stay.
You've been listening to the Team Martek Hour. The Team Martek Hour is a paid program. The content was provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership were not responsible for its content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Tune in again next Wednesday at 11:05 for the Team Martek Hour here on WPSL 1590.